Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to go over this interview on BNC where they interviewed Somaliland's finance minister. He's going to make a case for Somaliland's independence. It's quite interesting. Now before we get started, please remember to subscribe, like, share and comment. Thank you very much.
Here to explain more is my next guest, Dr. Saad Ali. He is Minister of Finance of the Republic of Somaliland and he joins us from the capital, Hargeisa. Minister Shire, thank you so much for joining me on Black News tonight. Somaliland very clearly wants to make it clear that they are not Somalia. Why?
Well, that's right. Well, first, good evening. I'm very pleased to be with you. Well, Somaliland is not Somalia, as you said. Somaliland has a different history. It was a British protectorate from 1897 to 1960, June 26, when it got its independence, and then it decided to join Somalia as two states, and that's what we did. But the union did not work, and in 1991, the people of Somaliland decided to leave the union. We're not seceding, we're not secessionists, we're just leaving a union. And since then, we have been able to develop and rebuild our country and establish a democratic system. And today, we have a president-elect and a parliament-elect, and local councillors-elect, and peace and stability in Somaliland, which unlike the news which you always get from Somalia.
Actually, that story is quite true. The only part I would disagree is the union part, because Somaliland and Somalia didn't form a union, they formed another country. When Scotland and England decided to unify, they formed the United Kingdom. That is a union. However, Somaliland and Somalia, they didn't form a union. What they formed was a new country. So Somaliland is part of Somalia, whether we like it or not. I personally believe that it should have been a union. That should have been the case, that when Somaliland and Somalia united, the Somaliland representatives should have asked for a union. And they should have asked for a way, sort of like seceding. For example, now Scotland, they can have a referendum and they can become their own country. But Somaliland representatives, unfortunately, they didn't ask for that. So that's why I don't like that argument that we're not seceding. We just formed a union with Somalia and now we want to leave that union. No. What happened was a unification of two different countries, sort of like what happened in Germany. When East Germany unified with the rest of Germany, they formed a Germany that we know today. And the East Germany cannot just now say that, you know what, we don't want to be part of this union anymore, we want to leave. That would be seceding.
You make an interesting distinction there. You say we're not seceding from the union, we're simply separate. That to some would feel like a distinction without a difference. There was a unification, and prior to 1991, the understanding was that you were the same. So when you decided to declare independence, were you not seceding? And if not, respectfully, tell me why the distinction is important.
Well, it's very important because we were two independent states with international boundaries when we joined. So the union was between two states. It wasn't a country that was annexed by another country or part of another country, and that union did not work. And if something doesn't work, for example, in your family, you divorce. And that's exactly what we did. We said, oh, sorry, this is not helping us and helping you, so we'll go our way, you go your way, and that's how it happened.
As I said before, the mistake was made a long time ago. When Somaliland was getting into agreement with Somalia and they decided to form a third country, Somalia that we know today, that is the moment when they should have thought about these things. What they should have done then is they should have something, agreement on the paper. It should have been in the Somalia's constitution, the way that Somaliland can become independent again. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist. What we have is Somalia, where Somaliland is part of that country. So what you are now in fact doing is you are arguing for succession, Somaliland to become an independent nation.
I was just going to say Somaliland certainly has gone its own way. You have your own government, you have your own currency, you've been functioning as a separate country from Somalia for 30 years now. Why is it so difficult then, given all of these very clear distinctions? Why is it so difficult to have this recognition by the international community? What's at stake here?
I think that's a question for the international community. As you said, we are an independent state by any measure. We have an international boundary, and we have a government elect, and we have a population, and we can enter into treaties and agreements with other states, and our officers and president are given full protocols when they go outside the country. So by any measure and description, we're a full state. But as you said, we haven't been recognized yet. And we think that's wrongly, because in fact that's denying our people the rights that's due to them. And some people say, well, if Somalia is recognized, then that may open a sort of a Pandora box. But that's not the case, because we had a commission from the African Union in 2004, and they came to Somaliland, and they wrote a report which said, Somaliland has absolutely nothing to do with Pandora box. It's a very special case.
Now, what he's saying there is quite true. Somaliland has their own borders, they have their own passports, they are quite independent in many sense of that word. However, they are not a sovereign nation. And the reason why they haven't been given independence is what he's talking about there, the Pandora's box. And it's the belief that if Somaliland is given independence, there will be many other African nations or African people who will be demanding that same right. It could be in Somalia, other states like Puntland might say that we also want to be independent. It might be in Ethiopia, most likely Tigray region. There are separatist movements in Nigeria. There are separatist movements all over Africa. So they have decided that they will not give independence to anyone unless there are some specific reasons. Now, Somaliland does have their own reasons, and there's a case to be made. However, I don't think that case has been made strong enough.
How has the Somalian government at various junctures been in response to this call for nationhood status? Have they been resistant at times? Have they wanted to combine? I mean, there's an argument that given the struggles that Somalia has had, that your connection to Somalia allows for a level of stability, some economic vitality, some even legitimacy in terms of rule of law and rule of government, which are, whatever we think about European standards, are often the measure of nationhood when they want to conveniently invoke those things. So has Somalia been helpful? In what ways has Somalia been helpful or not helpful in this struggle?
Well, Somalia has not been helpful at all. Particularly the current president was very unhelpful. We started a dialogue with Somalia back in 2012, and we had up to 10 meetings between us, to discuss this issue and other issues as well. But and we had some agreements on some issues, but the Somalia government never respected the agreements which we reached. So we're really some sort of in a difficult situation at the present time, but we hope that there will be a new president, soon, and that we will be able to discuss the matter again with Somalia at that level.
In the past 30 years that Somaliland has been looking for independence, there has been many Somali presidents and Somali governments. All of them have always denied independence to Somaliland. Now, this is what the current president, Mr. Farmajo, said when he was asked about the independence in Somaliland. Farmajo said, "I believe it's out of the question. Somalia is one nation and cannot be divided. No one recognizes a region in Somalia. It's 30 years on. Somaliland and its leaders have done everything and gone everywhere to gain recognition and didn't get it." So he's basically saying that you've already tried everything and you haven't gotten it, and I'm not going to give it to you. So the only people that will actually give it to Somaliland will be the international community. And that will have to be for certain reason. There has to be something in Somaliland that they actually find interesting in.
Many people right now are looking at the conditions in Somalia. They're looking at internal strife. Of course, they're looking at the organization Al-Shabaab, which of course has a strong relationship with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. People are looking at poverty. They're looking at what many would consider a failed state by technical terms. And they say, well, how is Somaliland different? What are the conditions like in Somaliland? Can you just quickly paint a picture for us about sort of what Somaliland looks like in comparison to Somalia?
Well, Somaliland is an island of peace and democracy, which is a rare thing in the Horn of Africa. We had, for example, just on May 31st, an election for the House of Commons and also an election for the local councillors. And that went very smoothly with no toll, no interruption, no fighting, no machete wielding, crowds, nothing of the sort. It's absolutely ideal. We think we have been able to achieve a lot, in Somaliland.
I have already made a video about Somaliland's election. They were fair, excellent elections where young people were elected, and it was quite a miraculous election. However, unfortunately, that is not enough to gain independence. Many people think that if they can just show that Somaliland can govern itself, Somaliland has this great, fair election system and we are a safe country, that maybe we'll get the independence that we seek. But unfortunately, I don't think that anyone cares. The United States government and all these other organizations, EU, they always just say, oh, Somaliland, great job, good for you. It's great that you have the democracy. But then nothing else happens. In my opinion, the Somaliland officials, they have failed to make the case for Somaliland independence. Now, even if you don't like me, if you are a Somalilander and if you think everything I'm saying is incorrect, listen to me on this point. How come we never see Somaliland officials on anywhere? This is a rare interview. You never see them make this case. And this is something that I have been wondering for years. If the point is to get independence, and that is the goal, how come the voice of the people and the voice of the government is so weak? They're concentrating too much on their internal affairs, and what they should do is they should hire people, international marketing institutions and businesses, and they should have some sort of marketing campaign. Everyone should know about Somaliland. There should be cases made, documentaries, they should be on BBC, CNN, they should be interviewed all over the place. If you want to make a point for you to get independence, you have to be more vocal. And you haven't been vocal, and that's the failure of this government. They have spent a lot of money on voting and having this democratic system. How much money have they actually spent on this gaining recognition? How much money have they put down? Maybe it's just me, but I always thought that they just say that, you know what, we are looking for independence, and they tell that to people. But they don't have any budgets for it, they don't have any plan for it. So it's hard for me to say or to think that this is going to happen anytime soon. Anyways, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please remember to subscribe, like, share and comment because it helps me out. Thank you all for watching. Take care.